Hey everybody, welcome back to Cartoon Universe. My name is Courtney and I'll be helping out with a few videos here on the channel. And in today's video, we're going to be looking at the LGBTQ+ representation in the Avatar: The Last Airbender and Legend of Korra universe. As a queer person, it's really cool to see the kinds of relationships that aren't heteronormative in the media I consume. And I think characters within the Avatar: The Last Airbender universe are a good step in that direction. The Legend of Korra is famous for the ending of their series, where it was revealed that the two lead characters, Korra and Asami, were in fact romantically interested in each other, and were implied to be pursuing that relationship as the finale came to a close. To many people, this was a surprising moment of LGBTQ+ representation that the show would become known for. But what a lot of people don't know is that this was only the tip of the iceberg, as far as that representation goes in the Avatar universe, and that there is a lot more to take a look at beneath the surface. Even the Korrasami ship had a lot more to it than a lot of people realize. Korra and Asami's relationship started out as a love triangle, with Mako being at the center of the conflict. Both Asami and Korra liked him and even dated him throughout different parts of the series, though in the later seasons, we could see a shift in their relationships. After both women cut romantic ties with Mako, we could see glimpses of the growing friendship between the two. They would spend more time together, both in action scenes and in more mundane ones. One event that helped the two get closer was towards the end of Season 3, when Korra nearly dies at the hands of Zahir and his cohorts. After being forced into the Avatar state via injected poison, Zahir tries to suffocate her with airbending. Using the last of her strength, Korra and her friends manage to subdue Zahir and bend most of the metal poison out of the young Avatar's body. Right after this, we can see Asami tending to Korra, who's relegated to being in a wheelchair until she can regain full movement of her body. Asami knew just how much pain Korra had gone through, and was just as determined to rescue her while she was held captive as she was helping Korra heal physically and emotionally. While heartbreaking, this bittersweet moment is one of many glimpses into their relationship post-Mako breakups that we can see the two women share. After the time skip in Season 4, we can see Korra and Asami have been writing to each other in the time that Korra has been in rehabilitation. At this point in the series, she can't re-enter the Avatar state and is still feeling some of the effects of the poison that was injected in her. She makes it a point to tell Asami that she's not emotionally ready to reconnect with Mako or Bolin, but has a much easier time talking with her. She assures her that she does still care about them, but she's just more emotionally available to Asami at this point in the story. Asami assures her that she's there for Korra and cares a lot about her. When Korra does return to Republic City, she's able to meet up with Asami and the others. They share a really cute moment where we can see just how excited Asami is to see Korra, as well as how Korra feels about Asami complimenting her new haircut. The two women initially have a spat as Asami gets defensive when Korra asks how she's handling her father's imprisonment, but they do end up smoothing things out later. When Korra was having doubts about her usefulness as the Avatar, Asami was quick to point out all the good things that she had done and how the world still needs her. We see Asami having Korra's back like this here and there, and not only is it really heartwarming, I think it's a testament to just how far they've come as individuals and as a romantic pair. It all culminates in the series finale, where Korra and Asami have an iconic moment near the newly created spirit portal, holding hands and ready to take on the future as a couple. Though we don't get to see them kiss on air, this is the start of one of the first openly queer couples within the Avatar universe. In the follow-up comic, Turf Wars, we get a more intimate look at their relationship as a couple. When Asami and Korra leave to go on a vacation into the spirit world, Korra mentions that she's grateful for Asami for being someone that understands her. She says, "Remember when we first met, and you took me race car driving? What I remember the most was how relieved I felt. Like, my whole life, I was always told I was too wild, too emotional, too intense. But it turns out that you could be just as intense as me. I never had anyone in my life who got me the way you do." Asami admits that when Korra left for 3 years for rehabilitation, she realized that she had developed feelings for the Avatar. Korra asks why she didn't mention this in her letters, and Asami replies with, "I guess I was scared that if you didn't feel the same way, then maybe you'd never come back." Korra then confesses that she started to have feelings for Asami right after she started her recovery from being poisoned. Asami's presence helped her heal and started the spark that eventually grew into what they have now. Upon returning from the spirit world, Korra takes Asami to meet her parents. The two are thrilled that their daughter has found love with Asami, and they support her, but others may not be so accepting. Korra is taken aback by their fear of homophobic/biphobic people, but it's shown that they only want her safe and happy. This is one of the first instances that shows us that the world of Avatar is capable of being hostile towards queer characters, It's unfortunate, but relatable. It can be hard enough to be out to yourself and your friends and family, but the fact that both Korra and Asami are in the public eye to varying degrees, one can see why Korra's parents are hesitant for their relationship to be fully put out there. On the other hand, Korra has a right to be frustrated. She doesn't feel that she should have to censor herself just because she's in a romantic relationship with a woman. She would just as soon say screw you to the people who wouldn't accept her and keep living her life as loudly and proudly as she's comfortable with. Asami suggests that they leave, and Korra apologizes for her parents' insensitivities. Asami says that she understands to an extent, but she's happy to be with Korra and would be fine with either waiting a bit longer to tell the world, or let everybody know right away. What we have is kind of like the spirit world. It's special and rare, and not everyone is going to see it that way. Later on, the two get advice from Kaya, who is able to sniff out that the two are in a relationship. We then get a look at how, historically, the four nations treated queer people as a whole. Have you told anyone you're together yet? Korra's parents. They were understanding. Mostly. But they seemed overly worried about what other people would say. That's Water Tribe tradition for you. People like to keep family matters private. No one's going to disown you for coming out, but our culture would prefer you to keep it to yourself. How did Aang react when you told him? Oh, he was nothing but supportive. Remember, my father grew up in the air temples, where men and women didn't hide who they loved. The air nomads were accepting of differences and embraced everyone, no matter their orientation. For most of its history, the Fire Nation was tolerant too. But then Fire Lord Sozin took power. He decreed that same-sex relationships were criminal. That guy was the worst. Even Avatar Kyoshi, who by all accounts loved men and women, was unable to effect any kind of real progress. After all, the Earth Kingdom has been the slowest to accept change and the most militaristically repressive. Let's put a pin in that, we'll come back to that later. Although not much is known about Kaya's past relationships, she's known to have dated women in the past, and she isn't too keen on broadcasting who/when/if she's dating. So far, it hasn't been canonically stated whether or not she's currently in a relationship with anyone, but this may be fodder for the Avatar comic writer's future projects. Besides Kaya, Korra, and Asami, the only other person that we know of to be canonically queer specifically from The Legend of Korra is Aiwei, Suyun's advisor and friend. Much like Kaya, we don't get this information directly from the show itself. In 2015, a Tumblr user who went by Isaac asked show creators Michael Dante DiMartino and Brian Konietzko if there existed other queer characters in the show. Isaac wrote this. "Sure there are," was Mike's response. "We've thought about it a lot," Brian concurred. "Kaya and Aiwei, and more. Some good, some bad. I repeat, Kaya is confirmed queer. Whether lesbian, bisexual, pansexual, asexual, or anything else, I'm not sure. We were right. Also, Aiwei. Didn't see that coming." While it's possible to speculate Kaya being somewhere on the spectrum of homoromantic/sexual to pan to bi to ace, etc., given that there's at least some small bits of information to go off of, this is much tougher to do with Aiwei. I can see how his addition to the LGBTQ+ cast in the Avatar universe may come off as the creators just trying to garner brownie points, but I personally feel that they wouldn't have made this announcement if they didn't have a reason. Perhaps we'll not only get to see Kaya's love life explored in the comics and spin-off books, but Aiwei's as well. The more characters that viewers and readers are familiar with that come out to being non-heterosexual, the more that queer individuals and relationships are normalized to the characters in-universe, as well as to those who read the comics and watch the shows. However, this is also where we start treading into murky waters. Aiwei did turn out to be a villain directly in conflict with Team Avatar and their associates, and I'm cautious to see where the writers take his narrative from here. It's no secret that many of the villains we've seen in media, especially cartoons, have been queer-coded. Queer-coding is a device used by writers and creators of media who want to express a character or characters belonging to some portion of the LGBTQ community without explicitly doing so. This portion of a Femme magazine article illustrates this nicely through Disney characters. Feminine mannerisms and melodramatic attitudes typically characterize antagonists such as Jafar in Aladdin and Scar in The Lion King. Even the creators of Ursula from The Little Mermaid look to the drag queen Divine as a model for their sassy and temperamental villainess. By using queerness as a defining feature of a large portion of Disney villains, the company fuels children's association of those characteristics with evil figures or immorality. I can see the team who creates Avatar lore want to make as much diversity as they and Nickelodeon are allowing themselves to, but I'm worried at what cost that may be. I can see the potential discourse in saying, well, not all queer people are good, just like how not all people in general are good, being brought up to potentially punch down at queer communities that just want to see them represented on the small screen in a way that isn't villainous. As a side note, it's been speculated by fans that the council page from Legend of Korra could be some shade of genderqueer or may have a non-heterosexual identity. Because of his meek and non-traditional expression of masculinity, fans have wondered if he could be considered a non-confirmed member of the LGBTQ+ part of the cast. But even then, the way in which he's shown in the series doesn't really show him in a light other than cowardly or as a possible damsel. There are better ways of representing genderqueer characters and characters that express masculinity differently in a respectable way. Granted, his screen time is much more minimal to the other characters mentioned, and his presence isn't there to be just a punchline and nothing more, so take all of that with a grain of salt. As for the original Avatar: The Last Airbender series, it's been confirmed that Avatar Kyoshi is also queer. Also, quick disclaimer, spoilers ahead for the Rise of Kyoshi book. Kyoshi met a fierce firebender by the name of Rangi when they were both 16. Rangi was, at the time, assigned to be the bodyguard of the misidentified avatar, Yun. Kyoshi worked as a servant at the mansion provided for Yun. Because of Rangi's militaristic and strict upbringing, Kyoshi found herself being ordered around by the firebender on a regular basis. After a few weeks of this, Kyoshi came to understand that this is a way for Rangi to express that she was fond of Kyoshi. After this, the two women were seen to have grown close as friends. There's also a scene where one of Kyoshi's bullies uses her earthbending to fling a pot up in the air. As it comes down, Kyoshi notices that Rangi is directly under where the pot will land. After Rangi asks Kyoshi to earthbend the pot, Kyoshi says that she can't. Fearing what would happen if she didn't intervene, she tackles Rangi to the ground, putting her out of harm's way. Rangi gets really flustered with Kyoshi being so intimately close to her. It's a really cute moment and a great example of the build-up to the couple's inevitable kiss. In terms of personality, where Rangi tended to be more blunt and feisty, Kyoshi remained calm and subdued. You could say that the two personalities kept each other in balance? Before Kyoshi and Rangi's romantic relationship could develop, though, there's a scene where Kyoshi and Yun nearly kiss after going through the bunches of fan mail and packages that were sent to Yun. Both had agreed that their relationship would not work due to their very different lives that they led, and what that would mean for both of their futures as individuals. And, as fate would have it, Yun sort of gets kidnapped by a spirit after being betrayed by one of his mentors, and until the sequel to The Rise of Kyoshi comes out, it's to be determined whether or not he's dead, and his body is just being inhabited by the spirit, or if they both inhabit his body, or something else. Also, fun fact, the first time Kyoshi bends an element besides Earth is when she's being dragged away from Yun, who's incapacitated and at the mercy of the spirit that kidnaps him. She just lets out a guttural scream and breathes fire. And the first time she enters the Avatar state is after her father figure gets killed right in front of her eyes. I genuinely hope that licensed therapists are a part of the Avatar canonical universe. Kyoshi manages to find Rangi and the two flee from the Avatar estate. While Kyoshi is understandably distraught, this impairs her judgment when hastily packing her things. Rangi manages to grab some essentials like food and blankets, something that Kyoshi becomes super grateful for after they leave. They manage to find the circus troupe that Kyoshi's biological parents once belonged to. Rangi is concerned that Kyoshi is set on getting revenge for the man who killed her father figure and left Yun alone with a violent spirit, but she sticks with her anyway. During their time at Hujiang, Rangi sets herself up to spar with someone, almost getting killed in the process but ultimately pulling out as the victor. Right after the fight, Rangi ends up getting frustrated with Kyoshi and cries, letting out all her frustration and feelings in a beautiful and heart-wrenching scene. "You don't think you deserve peace and happiness and good things, but you do," Rangi yelled. "You, Kyoshi, not the Avatar, but you." She closed the distance and wrapped her arms around Kyoshi's waist. The embrace was a clever way to hide her face. "Do you have any idea how painful it's been for me to follow you on this journey where you're so determined to punish yourself?" she said. "Watching you treat yourself like an empty vessel for revenge when I've known you since you were a servant girl who couldn't bend a pebble? The Avatar can be reborn, but you can't, Kyoshi. I don't want to give you up for the next generation. I couldn't bear to lose you." The two go back and forth, Rangi pouring her heart out and telling Kyoshi that she wishes she could give her everything she could ever want or need, and Kyoshi opens up herself in return. She tells Rangi that she does feel appreciated and loved by the one person that means the most to her. She doesn't need armies or palaces or anything like that when she has Rangi. The two meet eyes and then kissed for the first time. Well, Rangi pushes her away immediately, and basically calls Kyoshi a dork and tells her to kiss her where her face isn't bruised. It's so cute. After this, their relationship goes into full swing. They continue on their quest, but Rangi's mother ends up getting poisoned by the main antagonist, and Rangi wanted to take her to the Northern Water Tribe to find experienced healers that may be able to stop, if not reverse, the effects of the poison had. While the two women end up parting ways at the end of the book, the two agree to hopefully see each other again in the future. With that said, this brings up some interesting questions. What will happen to Kyoshi and Rangi's relationship? Kyoshi is said to have a daughter, so do the two end up back together and adopt a child? Does Kyoshi move on and birth or adopt one by herself without being attached to a partner? If Yun is able to be saved, does she end up with him? Until The Shadow of Kyoshi, which is the sequel to The Rise of Kyoshi, comes out, all we can do for now is speculate. Alright guys, that's it for this video. Let us know what you thought of it in the comments below. Also let us know what you hope to see for the LGBTQ+ characters and storylines in the Avatar universe, or who some of your favorite couples are. Subscribe to Cartoon Universe for the latest in the world of animated shows, and hit the bell icon to get notified when new videos come out. See you in the next one, bye!